right, so let's see. My 6th period class has a 70% chance of passing. That's 0.70. So that's 0.70, which means that many people pass and 30% don't pass. And then 65% in semester 2. So then this is passing and not passing. Okay? So passing, let me zoom out a little bit. It looks like is 65%, which is 0.65. And that means 35% don't pass. Okay? So now to get that, I'm just going to multiply. So I'm going to go 0.70 times 0.65. And I get that box. I'm going to round it to the nearest hundredth. So instead of 45 cents, it's 46. To get this box, I'm going to go 0.7 times 0.35. And I get 0.25 because I round it. Instead of 24 cents, it's 25. 0.3 times 0.65, and that's rounded up, is 20 cents. This one is 0.3 times 0.35, which is 11 cents. Now, as a side note, that's all I wanted, but it's supposed to add to $1. So if I went 46 cents plus 25 cents plus 20 cents plus 11 cents, I get $1.02. Well, some of you, I told you guys it's supposed to add to $1. But if you think about it, I rounded up, I rounded up, I rounded up, and I rounded up. So if I rounded up a half cent, a half cent, a half cent, and a half cent, that's what it accounts for. So you're doing fine because it's rounding. Okay? All right, create a sample space. Every single time I did sample space, I circled it in pink. So it's going to flip a coin 4 times. So I know 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be heads or tails, heads or tails, heads or tails, heads or tails. That tells me 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. I'm going to have 16 answers. So I'll start with 4 heads. But I know I have to keep going because there's 16. Then I'll do 4 tails. And then I'll go 1 tail, heads, heads, heads. Now I'll put the tails second, heads, tails, heads, heads. Now I'll put the tails third, heads, heads, tails, heads. Now I'll put it fourth, heads, 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 tails. So I did that with 1 tail. Now I'm going to do that with 1 head. Well, head, tails, 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 heads, tails, 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 heads, tails, 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 heads, tails. Wait, I think I'm off. What did I do? I skipped one. Oh, no, I think we're good. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So now I'm up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I got 10 done. I need 6 more. So heads, tails, heads, tails, tails, heads, tails, heads. Perfect. We get mellow music as we're going. There's heads, heads, tails, 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 heads, heads, and tails, heads, heads, tails, and heads, tails, tails, head. That is my sample space. Okay, I'm going to stop it for a second. So before I find the probability of everything, let's do the fractions. So that's 1/4 and 1/4, and that's 1/2. This is split into thirds. So 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So they want the probability of picking the same number twice. So that's a 3 and then another 3. So that's 1/4 and 1/3. Which is 1/12. This time they want the probability of picking a 6 and then picking a 7. So that is 1/2 times 1/3, which is 1/6. Okay. Then they want to know the probability of the sum equals 11. Okay, sum means plus. So I need to be able to add. So let's see. 3 and 7, no. 3 and 4, no. 3 and 3, no. 6 and 7, no. 6 and 4, no. 6 and 3, no. 8 and 7, 8 and 4, 8 and 3. So 8 and 3. So that is 1/4 times 1/3, which is 1/12. Okay. All right. They want to know the probability again, and it's a tree diagram, of picking red the first time. So this is the first draw, and this is the second draw. So if it's the first draw red, boom, 2/3. Okay. Now they want red and then red again. So they want red and then red again. 2/3 times 2/3. 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay? Now they want the probability of picking yellow. Well, there isn't yellow here, so there's no chance it's going to happen. Okay? All right, this is review. Are the triangles congruent or similar? I don't know. I know triangles add to 180 degrees. So I'm going to go clear. I'm going to go 180 minus 112. And then I'm going to subtract 20. And I know that's 48 degrees. And I'm going to do the same thing here. 180 minus 48. And then minus 20. And that's 112. So look at 112, 20, 48, all the same thing. Now the 6 is with the 48. Oh, they're literally exactly the same. Well, I guess that means they could not be similar because they are congruent. So what theorem justifies my answer? There's a bunch. I could do angle, side, angle. I could do angle, angle, side. Side, angle, side, I cannot do because I only have one side. So if you look here, this is my side. I only have one of them. So I can only do that. I cannot do that. And of course I can't do that because I only have one side. Doesn't account for the other ones. Okay? All right, last one. 4x plus 1, 3x minus 5. Multiply. 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 Remember how I showed you? I think I did it in blue. These two are the same. I add them. So I end up with 12x squared. Negative 20 and 3 is negative 17x. Negative 5. Okay? And that's kind of ugly 12, but I think you see it's a 12x squared. That's the quiz. Hopefully it helped.